All right, it is the Friday weekend preview, section 1904. It is match day for me. I'm getting set for SDFC tonight. Feels a little weird. This has completely disjointed my entire week, getting ready for a Friday match day at Snapdragon Stadium. I must tell you, I've been in this mode where I keep thinking that it's a day ahead just because I'm used to calling games on Saturday, but I will persevere. We will get through this all, but thank you for supporting Section 1904. I'm Darren. He's John. Got you here for some amount of time. We never really know what's going to happen. It's the beauty of this. Sometimes it can go for an hour plus. Sometimes it can go for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
We're not quite sure. That's the commitment that we make to you. You're not going to just hear us spin our tires on these topics. Many, many years of spinning tires on topics. I can see it happening all across local radio. John, how we doing?
We're doing good. I had myself a fun and social evening, and woke up with a little pep in my step. I'm excited for the weekend.
You know what I'm saying about spinning tires? I feel like we've gotten to that point with no activity on the trade deadline where everybody in local media is just taking turns interviewing each other. I've seen like round tables on social media.
I've seen them too.
I've seen a little quid pro quo where you can come on our show, we'll go on your platform. So we're all just interviewing each other about what it is that's going to happen with Dylan Cease. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should ask somebody in local media to come on to Section 1904 and give us their thoughts on Dylan Cease.
I mean, do you think that they would say anything that we haven't already said or discussed on this show? Like that's the thing.
Yeah, sort of just killing a little bit of time before something actually happens. And as of this morning, nothing has happened. And the trade deadline is less than a week away, as everybody knows. Everybody's got a theory. Everybody's got an idea. Everybody has an approach. And TikTok, 3 straight losses. How does that factor in? All of these things now become part of the conversation as well. Got to say, John, I did not and have not enjoyed what I've seen from Yu Darvish. And it doesn't bring me any joy whatsoever. I mean, nothing but absolute agony to talk about. Watching Yu Darvish has just not been an enjoyable experience. I know he got a little bit of praise after the start in Washington. I think Mike Schultz said something to the effect of, Darvish is back. I don't know that I bought it. I think some of the underlying numbers have suggested that this isn't Darvish, not the Darvish that we've come to know. So I don't know where this is heading. I don't think it ends well. I hate that. I want to be wrong about this, but I don't think this is going to end well for you, Darvish.
I'm not really in the prediction game, so I'll see if I can stay away from that part of it. But yeah, you said you're not enjoying watching Yu Darvish. His ERA is over 9, Darren. He's got the lowest strikeout per walk rate of his career by, a giant chasm. It's easy to throw those stats out there when he's pitched 4 games, and yesterday he gave up like 7 earned runs. But yeah, it's been bad, and I've been on the forgiving side of it, saying, look, this is the guy hasn't pitched in almost a year, really. He got no like minor league starts anytime recently to get his arm in shape. I think I said on the Discord, these are the pitches that he was supposed to be throwing in Peoria to get ready for the season, except he's got to throw them now. And that is me being forgiving. I do understand that we live in a world in which Yu Darvish's elbow just might be cooked, and he just might never be that guy again because he's 38 years old and his elbow's been, giving him discomfort for months now before, I guess, this return. It could be really depressing. The ending could be really bad. And the thing that I feel so terrible about that, the local media is starting to talk about more. I saw AJ Cassavell wrote it on Padres.com. Like, the whole season might turn on Yu Darvish. Like, AJ Cassavell said, Yu Darvish has another start early next week against the Mets that might determine whether or not they're going to, go for it or not. That's
Here,
crazy.
I can read that because I'm glad that you brought it up. You and I didn't talk about this, but I do have this because I wanted to read it. If Darvish looks like the dominant version of himself from down the stretch last season, a move like that one seems palatable. He's talking about Dylan Cease. But if Darvish looks like he did on a muggy Thursday night in St. Louis, and then AJ adds in here parenthetically, or if he is in any way compromised health-wise,
Yep.
there is a much, much stronger case that the Padres should not only keep Cease in the rotation, but reallocate some of their resources so they can add to it. That's AJ Cassavell. I'm glad that that stood out to you, John. Go ahead. I just wanted to read that so that people who didn't see it could know what it was that you were referencing.
Yeah, and I just feel bad for him, right? Like he tried so hard to come back and do this, and now every Darvish start is kind of like, hey, if it's a good start, we're contenders. The second half of the season is going to be great. Watch out, Dodgers. And then he pitches a bad one, and it's like, sell everything you got, get rid of all these guys who are going to be free agents. Can't count on Darvish to be anything better than maybe a fifth starter going forward. Maybe he should just retire, get surgery or whatever. And it's like, I feel so bad for the guy that he can't just go out there and pitch. And like, I understand he makes a lot of money. There's a lot of things riding on him. And that's not the team's fault or his fault or anyone's fault. It just is what it is. But I feel terrible for him that every start now is like, hey, if we're going to go somewhere, you got to be good. And you've had no chance to literally like sharpen your tools and work on your craft for the last few months to try and be good against this Mets lineup. You're kind of just relying on your experience and your knowledge and your wits and hopefully your creativity to get outs. That I feel so bad for the guy.
Yeah, but I think that's where you and I might slightly disagree. Are you advocating that he should be making rehab starts, not starts in the big leagues?
I mean, it's too late for that now, but I was advocating for that before he came back to the big leagues. I was like, I don't want
I don't agree.
Why?
Because I think what we're looking at is a pitcher here that doesn't have many bullets left. And you're not going to go waste those bullets in Fort Wayne or San Antonio. I think what you're getting from Darvish now is somebody who probably is pretty close to the end. Again, that parenthetical ad from AJ Cassavell, to me, I don't want to do this to AJ because I like Cassavell a lot, but for him to include that after Darvish was pretty adamant that he's fine physically and should be better, that it's just about performance, it's not about health. But him adding that in there, I think.
Wait, did he say that last night, Darvish? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Because I know he said that previously.
It felt like there was, that they were pretty adamant last night that this isn't health related, almost to the point where they were so adamant about it that you become suspicious, right?
Yeah.
You're like, okay, no, he's definitely not. He's definitely not. He's David. And then you're like, oh, maybe they're, me think the lady doth protest too much. But if that is the case, and he is just giving you what he's got, and he spent these months away from the big leagues, just trying to do whatever he could possibly do to build himself up. You can do certain things. I'm not saying that he did these things, but you hear after the fact, guys go and they do certain things just to try to build up a little bit of strength around where the injury might be in the elbow so that they can get by for some period of time because they know if they go to surgery, it's probably over for Darvish at this stage of his career.
At 38, yeah.
It's probably over. Maybe he can come back in a little while, but at what point? Where is the organization? So I think it's really admirable what it is that Darvish is trying to do, that he tried to build up a little bit of strength so he can give it a rip between now and whenever it is that this thing ends up popping. So I do appreciate that. And I think that I mean, this is just my opinion. I haven't been told this. It's just my opinion being around baseball for a long time. But I wouldn't have wasted, I don't think I would have wasted those bullets in rehab starts or minor league starts. I tend to think that's part of the story here, why it was that Darvish did decide to give and say, I'm going to bypass that. I'm just going to come to the big leagues because this is what I got left. And it is what it is. And, if I only have but so many more opportunities here to throw a pitch in professional baseball, I want to do it with the big league club. That's my read on it. Again, it's my opinion. It's not based on information. So I don't know that I think he should have gone and had some rehab starts to sharpen his skills. But again, I might be wrong. And I hope I'm wrong about this. And I hope Darvish can pitch throughout the season and he could be a valuable contributor to the Padres down the stretch and in the postseason as well. I just, I'm not too optimistic.
I see where you're coming from, but I also watch him and go I don't know, there's a chance that he's just not sharp, right? He's just missing his spots. And it's
velocity though, underlying numbers aren't great.
I know.
He talked about how he wasn't sure how he'd feel after that first start throwing sliders, right? Which is the pitch traditionally that we've heard, which puts the most stress on the elbow. Said he hadn't thrown a lot of those. Was I was kind of curious to see how that went. That's interesting. Interesting thing to say. And again, I think he deserves a ton of respect for being out there, for who he's been, not just to this organization, but in his big league career. But man, and I think it's part of the overall big picture too about why the Padres, do they need offense? Yeah. Like, has everybody been banging on about a left fielder all season long? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But, in a game where you score as often as they did last night, 8 runs, was it 9-8, I think, or 9-7, something?
7.
So, when you actually, get guys going and you're starting to see, Arise looks pretty good and Tatis looks pretty good and Manny looks pretty good. I'm sure, what is the delay for the trade deadline? It is probably gathering as much information as possible about, what is Michael King? What is Yu Darvish? Maybe your priorities shift a little bit. Everybody understands that they need a little bit of help offensively, but might you better use your resources to add to your starting staff than to your offense? Know what I mean? So maybe that's what it is at this point. Great. There seems to be all sorts of optimistic things written and said about Michael King. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
But, I do think, for me, you're asking me today, Friday, heading into the weekend, what's the biggest need? And I certainly think you can make a valid case that it's a starting pitcher.
But, okay, did you read the Ken Rosenthal thing in The Athletic about how A.J. Preller can just kind of find pitching anywhere? Did you read that?
No.
I mean, I thought it was, it was fairly complimentary of AJ and said that this is kind of his time of the year because he lives in chaos all the other times and the GMs are uncomfortable, but he's comfortable being uncomfortable. And they pointed out that, like, he doesn't view, it was weird because Ken was like, he doesn't view starting pitchers as like a starting pitching staff as like a thing that he has to worry about because he just always feels like he can find more arms and throw them in there. And then, I was thinking it before Ken even wrote it. He was like, he did give long-term contracts for Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish, but those were worthwhile gambles. Not entirely sure they were worthwhile gambles, but what are you going to do at this point? But isn't it easier for them to find like a Ryan Bergert and plug him in there as a, at least a league average starter than it is for them to find a left fielder? Because obviously if they could have found a left fielder by now, they would have found one.
Yeah, but where's a league average starter going to get you?
I mean, you're supposed to have a better offense so that you can support league average starters. Sonny Gray yesterday. Yeah,
a league average starter might get you to the postseason, but
yeah,
where are you
once
going?
You get there, no, I know.
Once you get there,
but
I think you can get to this. I think you can get to the postseason with this offense and this bullpen. I'm not sure you can get to the postseason if you don't have Darvish and King. So, from that standpoint, I just, that's the thing that makes me worry a little bit. I don't know. I mean, the bullpen, like we saw last year, the Dodgers kind of ran out of starters and won the World Series.
Yes.
So, I suppose there's an argument either way for it.
Right.
But, and they also had no Freddie Freeman. So it was just this, this really, like, of all the seasons for them to win the World Series, that was the one that I think was probably the least predictable of them all. But, I just do think that this offense is I'm not saying it's fine. There are frustrations with it. And yes, they put up guys in spots that shouldn't be hitting and pinch hitting, and we've been over it. But I do think, you really run the risk of having such a thin pitching staff that, one more thing happens here and the whole thing is going to crater.
Okay, but a couple days ago, there was the, rumors flying around. Padres are interested in Sandy Alcantara and his ERA of 7 at the time. And then he pitches a great game against the Padres because most pitchers pitch a great game against this Padres offense. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, we should get this guy. He looks like he's Cy Young again. Isn't it just as good of a bet? I know you don't like this guy, but isn't it just as good of a bet to just hold on to Dylan Cease and be like, he's going to figure it out, than it is to give up prospects or whatever you have to give up to buy low on someone like Sandy Alcantara and be like, he's going to figure it out? Like, you already have a guy who's basically Sandy Alcantara with his value low. Like, why wouldn't you just bet on him rather than going out to the store and spending money to bring in another guy that you're going, well, we know Sandy's been good in the past, so he'll be good again. Like, I don't know that I see the point in spending to bring in more starting pitching, because this was always probably going to boil down to, can Cease figure it out and can King get healthy? And I think that's going to be the case, even if they go out and they add more pitching.
Yeah, I'm not advocating for trading Cease, by the way.
Yeah, but I was basically, okay, so let's imagine you don't trust Darvish. Like, let's say Darvish is out of the starting rotation by the end of the year. You go into the playoffs. Let's say Cease figures it out and King is good. Like, you have a starting staff in the playoffs of King, Cease, and Pivetta. Isn't that good enough?
Yeah, in theory. I mean, if you're giving me, if you're giving me those guys, but is that what you're betting on here today? Are you betting on Michael King?
I would, well, here, that's the thing. Like, if you add more pitching and then Michael King never comes back, and then you get to the end of the year and you're like, hey, we were 3 guys short, but Darvish and Musgrove and King, we never really had a chance. Like, I'm starting to get to the point of like, maybe they don't. I don't see the point in buying pitching. I do see the point in trying to become someone more like the Cardinals, where Sonny Gray.
But you don't see the point in buying pitching if King comes back, which is still a question.
Well, I don't see the point in buying pitching either way.
Oh, I do. Although then you're giving up on the season. Then how are you going to even get to the postseason if you don't have any pitching?
I think the path of kind of pray for rain. Pray for Cease and King to be good and healthy.
Spawn in Spain and pray for rain.
Yes, is just as good of a plan for the rest of the season as is giving up prospects to bring in someone like a Sandy Alcantara. I just feel like it's of similar success chances.
Yeah, and none of us even know what the prospects would be to give up for Sandy Alcantara. So, I mean, I don't particularly care what it is that they give up for him. Yeah, if they can get him.
No, I don't
Or if they can get another pitcher. If they can get somebody like Seth Lugo, who you don't have to worry about, who you just put into the middle of the rotation. And at least every 5 days, Mike Schilt doesn't have to worry about whether this guy is going to break on the mound.
It's fair.
Which is not really the case for some of these other guys. Yeah, I mean, it just feels like the pitching to me is a little bit more confounding than the offense is. Because I'm supposed to have an offense, and if Fernando Tatis Jr. doesn't do his job, and if other hitters in this lineup don't do their job, at least I know that there's only so much that I can do here based on the commitment that I've already made to the lineup, which deserves an upgrade. It does deserve an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like starting pitching is just a little bit more of a puzzle because of the uncertainty. And this is just exterior uncertainty. Maybe they know a lot more than we do. Maybe they're like, hey, we never really thought that Darvish was going to make it through an entire season. We're not sure exactly what it is we're going to get out of Michael King. So, maybe they have much more, I'm sure they have much more information than you and I do, and everybody else does. But, again, I do think, as I've been sort of saying throughout the week, I do think that the pitching, they're going to add. Like, they are adding there, whether you agree or not. I do think that that's, and I understand why, because, man, it feels very fragile. And if one more thing happens to this pitching staff, Ryan Bergert or Matt Waldrop, where are you turning? Where are you turning? Once one more of these guys goes down, where are you going?
I don't know, but I do like Kyle Hart being the new mop-up guy, swingman. Like, they've needed a swingman all year long and a mop-up guy all year long, and it seems like that's a much better role for him than starting pitcher, although it keeps him around for spot starts if needed. I was about to say something very mean about Bryce Johnson, and then I looked up. Do you have any idea what Bryce Johnson's batting average is?
I don't.
It's .290.
Okay.
I mean, that's technically, last night, he had the best batting average of anyone in the lineup. Like, I was going to be like, you can't...
Doesn't qualify, but...
I know. But I was like, you can't go to the playoffs with Bryce friggin' Johnson as your left fielder. And then I looked, I was like, well, if you kept that up, it'd be fine.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's easy. I don't think they're in a situation where it is obvious what they should do.
That's why I wish I could be in AJ Preller's head, because he's like kind of the king of like having plan A, plan B, all the way to plan like L. I'd love to know how his range varies right now. Like, does he have an all-in buy plan, an all-in sell plan? What are the middle grounds that are like partially sell, partially buy looking like? I am a little concerned, and I was talking to our buddy H.J. Preller last night about why he's so dissatisfied with the Padres, even though, 10, 15 years ago, they were a much worse franchise with a much lower payroll. And one, he was like, well, we bought in on the tanking for years with the idea that we were going to win a World Series, and we didn't win a World Series. And I'm like, expectations are the thief of joy. Like, that's your fault. But then he said, and I've been bringing this up too. I've been bringing up the reports that, the Padres want to add, but they also kind of want to get payroll out the door so that they can add, which tells me that AJ Preller might be getting some sort of guidance from above him of the payroll's not going up. Don't ask. And he's got to figure out how to add without the payroll going up. And if that's
I think
the case,
AC's reported that, right?
I don't know if he's reported it. He has said that they are looking to both add and not increase the payroll, but I don't know that he said Preller was like given that instruction. But if that's the case, then it does feel a little bit more like the pre-Peter Seidler days than the Peter Seidler days, where Peter was just like, I'll spend whatever if it's going to win me a World Series. And now, with John Seidler or whomever is dictating terms down to AJ Preller, like it does feel like, hey, let's not spend money might be being prioritized over let's get the best team possible because, the Dodgers look vulnerable and we have a chance here. And, so some of these, like Manny's window is not going to be open forever. And I could see how that would be frustrating. That's frustrating to me. Every time they mention money around this trade deadline, I get a little frustrated.
Yeah, but with one difference, they're already spending $210, $20 million, somewhere in that range. We're not talking about a $100 million payroll here.
Yeah, no, I got you.
So, they have spent, but what they're willing to do now that they are this kind of pot committed, I think, is that's where you can absolutely 100% envision Peter Seidler being like, yeah, of course, go for it.
Yes.
Like, what are you talking? Go get the guy.
Yeah, I'll go find some money
go get
for
the
you.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, here you go. What do you need? And I think when people talk about AJ Preller and they talk a little bit about, whether he shouldn't stay, right? Like when there becomes these sort of overarching conversations about AJ Preller and his future and whether he's a good general manager or a bad general manager, I would always say, like, I think what made AJ Preller really good and what has made AJ Preller really good was that he worked really, really well with Peter Seidler. And he had an owner that allowed AJ Preller to really operate at a level where a lot of other owners won't let him operate.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, we're back to, even though everybody tries to justify this, we're back to, well, we have to trade Juan Soto in order to get pitching. Whereas, the Padres of Peter Seidler would be like, add pitching so we can maximize the time that we have spent left with Juan Soto. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's build that kind of team. Let's not go hedging and saying, well, we got to trade these assets for that. We never talked about that kind of thing when Peter Seidler was here. Like, yes, you had to literally move on from Eric Hosmer because you had a roster, but it wasn't because of the money. As if anything, you ended up paying that guy just so he could go away. It wasn't like you were looking to dump that salary. The story that I heard at the time actually was quite the contrary, that they were trading Eric Hosmer and they could have saved a couple of bucks, but for some reason they wanted Jay Groom. They thought that Jay Groom had some potential because he was a first-round draft pick or whatever. And they ended up getting a better prospect instead of cutting a couple of $1 million off what they were going to owe to Eric Hosmer.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of thing that happens around here anymore. But I also don't think we're not talking about the Rockies. We're not talking about the Pirates where, every last decision is just 100% rooted in the budget. But the budget does matter. And it didn't matter a couple of years ago. So yeah. I think that is a change. That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, We're definitely in this weird middle ground where it's like, the team that AJ built with Peter Seidler is still here, but now it needs to be managed differently. And I don't mean like the literal manager. I mean like how it's judged going forward and how it's maneuvered going forward for financial reasons because the purse strings are controlled by someone else. So I don't know.
Right.
It's been.
And we don't know that. We don't know that. I mean, what we knew about Seidler was, there was a time where people be like, oh, we're going to have Juan Soto and Shohei Ohtani, and Manny Machado.
And Bryce Harper, yeah.
And all these guys, and
Aaron Judge.
Yeah, you kind of got used to that a little. And that's just not the case anymore. But, I don't think this is the poorhouse. Not yet. Not yet.
No.
But we'll see. I don't know. That just put a shiver down my spine when I read that. Again, from Casavell on MLB.com. that if he is in any way compromised health-wise, it just seems like the kind of thing that AJ adds in there at MLB.com that you go, oh, like that feels like a significant parenthetical addition to what it is that Casavell is writing.
It does.
Again, contrary to what it is that they say. Well, what do you think? By the time we get on the podcast on Monday, will anything have happened? Or is this going to go right up into the deadline?
See, I would have told you that I thought something was going to happen over the weekend, if not for the fact that everyone's like, well, the whole rest of the season could, spin on a dime depending on Darvish's start against the Mets, and which I think is 2 days before the deadline. So now I'm like, all right, maybe they have some frameworks done, and they're like, let's see, we got to know what Darvish is before we press go on this, so hold off. So I tend to vote no. I tend to think that we'll be sitting here on Monday, not spinning our tires talking about the same thing, but maybe skipping over the Padres a little bit and going, here are the games they played, and there's no new developments on the trade front.
Looks like the Diamondbacks have decided that they're going to start the sell-off.
Yeah, they traded Naylor to the Mariners, right?
Yeah, I thought maybe they would give it an effort against the Padres. Since I think aren't the Diamondbacks right around the corner here?
I think
next
that's
week?
True. I think it goes Mets and then hold on, got it in front of me. I feel like it goes Mets Cardinals. Yeah, Mets Cardinals at home and then away at Arizona after this road series.
Okay, so that's
St.
after
Louis.
the trade deadline anyway, so that wouldn't have mattered. I thought maybe they would see if they could get a little bit of traction, but I guess if you're selling off Josh Naylor, maybe they're making other people available. I don't know how that does or doesn't work into the Padres' plans, other than one less team I think that you have to worry about for wild card contention. So
sure, and
I guess that's a good thing.
And a team you're in theory probably going to play a bunch the rest of the season. So Darvish is set to start against the Mets on Tuesday. That is 2 days before the deadline. And Cease is set to start against the Mets on Monday, 3 days ahead of the deadline. I did post on Blue Sky this morning. I saw someone who I'm assuming is a Mets fan put together a potential trade where the Mets would land Dylan Cease, and they were giving up like 5 of their top 20 prospects to get a couple months of Dylan Cease. And I was like, I don't know who this guy is. I'm not going to put this in front row seat, but I just posted it on Blue Sky, and I was like, And there was a couple Padre fans who were like, wow, what a deal. And then a couple who were like, they'd be nuts. There's no way the Mets are giving up their 2 top prospects and like 3 more of their top 20 just to get a couple months of Dylan Cease. That would be crazy, right? If not, then take it now.
Would it? Or would that really help them since they're on top of the NL East right now and they're neck and neck? They're not just competing for a wild card. They're competing for a division title. Would that help them get a division title, which means home games, which means revenue in ways that you can't guarantee if you're playing for a wild card? So
can you give up your top 2 prospects for a rental these days without like losing your job?
Depends what that rental becomes. Depends what that rental helps you do.
Yeah, but if Dylan Cease gives them 2 months and then goes and signs with the Yankees, and there's fuck Dylan T-shirts at Citi Field being sold next season, then the Mets fans are going to riot.
Yeah, or he might be bad, and you still could go ahead and go to the postseason, I suppose, if you're the Mets. But I think their circumstances we're angling for a division title ahead of the Phillies. How do we make a legitimate run at that? And that's a little bit different than we're trying to bolster a lineup for what we think is going to be a while. I mean, that's the other part of this, right? With the Padres at 55-48, I know they're 5 games back of the Dodgers, and the Dodgers have been pretty bad, 4-6 in the last 10, showing some cracks. But they're also expecting a bunch of these starting pitchers to come off the IL at some point. Maybe this is part of their approach and strategy. But they're there. As bad as they've been, they have 60 wins so far in the season. But are the Padres playing? Are they chasing a title, or are they just chasing a playoff spot? That's the other thing I think you have to factor in. That becomes another part of the calculus here. Is what are you willing to do and give up for, no home games, guaranteed to you,
right,
potentially, if you end up in that spot, unless you end up as the top wild card, which I'm not so sure either.
Also, speaking of the Mets, they play the San Francisco Giants today. And if the Padres lose to the Cardinals and the Giants beat the Mets, I'm pretty sure the Padres, for the first time all year, drop out of a wild card spot, and the Giants take that third wild card spot. I'm pretty sure. I don't know how the tiebreakers work, but I'm pretty sure that the Giants would take that spot. So it'd be the first time all year that the Padres would be on the outside looking in of the postseason. I wonder, it's because they've lost 3 straight games, but I wonder how much losing would have to happen for AJ Preller to just pull the ripcord and be like, Sellers. I saw someone on X this morning reposted the front row seat with a graphic of AJ Preller. It looked like a movie poster, AJ Preller on the phone, and the title of the movie said Sellers. I was like, maybe.
Well, it's match day.
It
SDFC,
is.
Friday night. I know, like I said, this has completely screwed my schedule up.
I'm excited for this Friday night, though, because it's 3 hours separate the game. So I can sit and I can watch the whole Padre game and then sit and watch the whole SDFC game and then roll right into the weekend.
My desk is a complete mess filled with notes about players. Nashville's very good. I'm trying to think, this might be the most in-form team that SDFC has faced all season.
Because Vancouver and Minnesota was during the international play? Correct.
And Vancouver hadn't quite picked up and found its mojo from earlier in the season, even this past week. So this might be the most in-form side with a couple of really good players. They just set a franchise high in victories. 14 wins for Nashville is the most they've ever had. This is a club that just began in 2020. I have a lot of notes here that are probably not going to make the broadcast, so I might burn some of my material here on Section 1904.
Please, do it for the subscribers.
This is number 2
Darren.
in the Eastern Conference versus number 1 in the Western Conference. That's not one of the notes. But you know who's facing his former team? Anibal Godoy.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Either you mentioned that or someone else mentioned that recently about Godoy facing off against his former team. And
he spent the last 5 years. This is the first year in Nashville's history
without Anibal Godoy.
Without Anibal Godoy, who is, I don't know that I'll get to this on the broadcast, 7th all-time in matches played and starts, who is 6th all-time in assists, 8th all-time in minutes played. There's other stats here that I have that I don't even feel like I'm going to get to them now. But maybe he's going to look around and be like, oh, wow, they even gave my number away to some kid from Norway. So maybe he's going to show up all inspired. I think he knows a thing or two about these players. A lot of these guys have been there since day one. This is a different coach, but he got to play under this coach last year, BJ Callahan. It's a matchup of 2 coaches who both were interim managers for the U.S. men's national team for a period of time, BJ Callahan and Mikey Varas. So there's an angle, a subplot, I suppose, of some sorts. But yeah, it's a really informed side. They're really, really good. They have the MLS co-leader in goals scored, and Sam Surridge, and really, really good players, former MVPs on their side. So it's a good team. It's going to be a good test. I mean, it's really, really going to be good. Sounds like Patty McNair is going to be available to play. I don't know what role he's going to play tonight, but Anibal Godoy has also been cleared, so he's going to play tonight. So at least you're getting a little bit of your squad back, of some regular starters back. So it will be a fun one. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to seeing Nashville. I think Nashville's an interesting story. They have some good players. Going to be a good test. I think it's going to be. I think it'll be a fun one. And we could talk a lot about how SDFC's kind of stopped scoring. But the other thing that they've done on the opposite side is they've also stopped allowing a lot of goals as well. They've allowed 3 goals in their last 3 matches. Those 3 goals in reverse chronological order have come via an own goal, a penalty kick, and a set-piece corner kick in the 87th minute against Chicago. So they're not scoring, and that needs to change. They still are one of the highest scoring teams in all of Major League Soccer, even with this bump on the road. But they've only allowed 3 over their last 3 as well, and we haven't spent a ton of time talking about that. I don't know exactly why that is. Is that Pablo Cisniega? Yeah. Is it the teams that they're playing? Because the teams that they're playing maybe aren't exactly dynamos in terms of goal scoring. Perhaps, but they did play Vancouver, and they held Vancouver to an own goal. So looked like they were maybe starting to round back into form after beating Houston 3-0 during the week. Vancouver, I'm talking about here. But just an own goal, and having missed a couple of shots that they probably should have converted is certainly part of that story. But also will be interesting to see who's in goal tonight, John. I truly don't know the answer to that. I do think it is probably going to be Pablo Cisniega, though.
Yeah, so I was going to say you, first of all, I had to laugh because you were like, the teams they've played recently certainly are not, dynamos. And I looked at my screen, literally.
Houston Dynamo.
Houston Dynamos. Like, one of them was. So
Fair.
you asked me to kind of predict, if we're sitting here Monday, have the Padres made a trade? So I'm going to ask you for some predictions for tonight's game. And one of them, which you maybe just answered, was who's going to be in goal? The other one was, my other question was going to be, is Anibal Godoy going to play? Because he hasn't played in like 3 weeks. And then my last question, and this is the one that I'm most interested in, is like we kind of saw the Milan Olaski thing coming, right? He was performing really well off the bench, and we're like, at some point he's going to get a start. And then he got a start, and we're like, we think he's going to keep starting after that. My question to you, and maybe this is easier with like Patty McNair's not fully back, and Chris McVeigh, I think, is still injured. So my third question to you.
He's out for the game.
Is Mano Dua going to start again? Those are my questions.
I'm going to guess no. Because if McNair is available,
it'll be him and Pilcher.
Do you want him to start the match or do you want him to end the match? See, that's I don't know the answer to that question. I think Pilcher, coming off 2 really, really good performances, his first MLS goal last week, and then the previous week where he had 170 touches and was up there amongst the highest rated players on the squad, really is playing with a level of confidence that I don't think you can take out. So I'm going to put Pilcher in there, but with McVeigh, but then he's also playing Patty's left back spot. So I'm not exactly, I'd have to, I saw Patty McNair, he was working off on the side when I was there on Tuesday of this week. And then he got back into training on Wednesday, I think, and Thursday of this week. So I would think you probably, maybe it's better to have him come off the bench and try to close the match out.
Who, Patty?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is my thought on Mano Dua. Mano Dua was, I think, phenomenal in their last match, but he's also really, really young. He's a rookie. He's a really young rookie. That whole back line's young.
Youngest back line in Major League Soccer history.
Yeah, last week, which is amazing. If Mano Dua starts and he's not playing well, you can bring Patty in. Mm-hmm. If Patty's playing and you're like, okay, now it's time for Mano Dua to come in, and he comes in and he's not good, you're screwed at that point. The other thing is, Mano Dua seems like he could both play the back line, and I think at UCSB, he was like more of a midfielder. Mm-hmm. So if he's playing well and you want to bring Patty in, you can just move him around to another spot, but you can't really do the opposite. You can't really move Patty McNair to a midfielder spot and bring in Mano Dua to be on the back line. I guess you could do the opposite, have him replace a midfielder. But I think starting Dua gives you more flexibility to deal with unpredictable things that might go wrong, which is why I if I were Mikey Varis, Mikey Varis was me, the team would be awful. But if I were Mikey Varis, I might look at that and just go, it gives me a lot more flexibility if I start Dua instead of McNair. But that's maybe one of the only real questions I have about what this team is going to look like in the lineup outside of like, I'm assuming Godoy is going to play based on everything you've said. You have a bunch of notes. I hope he plays. And, Chucky, Anders, Yepe, I'm assuming they're back. I'm assuming they're healthy. I'm assuming they all start and play. That doesn't leave a lot of openings for anyone else, except for, maybe Alex Mighton is at the top with Chucky and Anders. I don't know. Probably not.
I don't think so. See, I think this is what would be interesting to me. And I think if Godoy is back, do you put him right back and start him on the right side of the midfield? And does that then let you take Ani Valakari and put him up top in the middle?
Ingvartsen's still hurt?
Ingvartsen's still hurt. He's out for the match. And then you have Chucky on the left. You have Anders on the right. You put Oni in the middle. Listen, they've given Mighton opportunities. He hasn't taken them. Yeah. They've given Angel opportunities. He hasn't grabbed them.
For the most part,
Maybe now what you say is we need somebody with a little bit more ruthlessness, a little bit more, he still has more goals. Ani Valakari does. He has 4 goals here. Tomas has 3 and Alex Mighton has 1. So he's been asked to do something different, which is play a little bit more holding midfield over the last couple of weeks. But maybe you say, hey, now that Godoy is back, we're going to put you up top since nothing's really clicked here with Tomas. Nothing's really clicked with Maiton, although they're not exactly the same guy playing the same position. Tomas has played more centrally and Maiton's played on the wing. So, maybe that's what you do. Maybe you say, hey, we'll put One up top. He's been the Swiss Army knife for this team. He's played left wing. He's played centrally. He's played left midfield. He's played right midfield. So maybe you say, hey, listen, we need you a little bit up top here, especially with Anibal. And Anibal maybe not going to give us 90. So then we move you back and we'll see where we're at in the match. And are we chasing? Are we defending? What are we trying to do? So there's a lot of options. I happen to think it's going to be Cisniega again. And, this is not one where you can say, well, CJ's getting used to a mask or CJ's still trying to come back from injury. You're just playing a hot hand at this point. If you play Pablo
Cisniega's been so good.
This is a choice.
Yeah.
And this is, this isn't circumstances, right? People always used to say this about baseball. Like, oh, you know what I miss about baseball that the DH doesn't give you? You can't – and like, no, like the situation usually dictated what decisions the manager had to make. And having guys out injured kind of dictated what it is. You say, hey, listen, if my keeper's hurt, this is my keeper. But, if you're going to go with Cisniega now, I think CJ's mostly healthy. I think it's an interesting choice. And I think it's one that I probably would support. And I love CJ as much as anybody.
Yeah.
But I think if you're looking at a guy who probably has earned another start, even if you say that CJ is my number one, I think you play the hot hand, and that hot hand for me is Pablo Cisniega tonight.
Isn't there's some sort of quote or something going around from Mikey Varas that I've heard on the Apple TV broadcast? I think I've heard you guys say it. Well, you may have even said it on the podcast before. Mikey being asked about, certain roster decisions, starting lineups and all that. Kind of going back to, they started the season with Franco Negri and Jasper Loffelson on the back line, and then they kind of lost their jobs to these 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids. And I think he said, I'm going to make my decisions based on the performance on the field. And right now, putting CJ back in would be a decision based on his contract and the fact that he's young and he's probably going to be the keeper of this team for the next few years. But putting Cisniega in there is going, yeah, he's been so good that I think he's earned the chance to keep going until he's not this good anymore.
Yeah, I think so. And maybe that's tonight. Again, Nashville's really good, man. Really, really good. And this is a little bit of a surprise, not high expectations for what they refer to as Nashville 2.0, just their second manager ever, who came in last summer and said, we're kind of old. We want to move some of these old guys out. But even then, most predictions seem to have them as a fringe playoff team in the Eastern Conference. And here they are now potentially chasing down a supporter shield. So they're good. I'm looking forward to watching them play. I think it's going to be a fun night at Snapdragon Stadium. And then there's some sort of party afterwards. Are you familiar with the DJ who's performing tonight?
I wasn't even aware that there was a DJ performing tonight. Do you give me a name? I don't know many DJs.
I forgot it already. I have it here somewhere, but Diomo, I think it is.
Unfamiliar.
A lot of followers on social media.
San Diego FC announces Dioro to perform.
Dioro, I was close. Forgive me. That's my bad. I should know that.
He's got a look that I feel like will resonate with the crowd, and I imagine he's good because he's popular. So people are gonna have a ball.
And then my other note that it's never gonna make the broadcast tonight is the player who now wears the number 20 for Nashville. He's Norwegian. His name is Edvard Tagseth. He just has Eddie on the back of his jersey. This is Anibal Godoy's number. So I picture Anibal being a heat-seeking missile out there tonight, looking to take out this Norwegian. He is from, John, I'm sure you're curious about this. He's from the Frosta municipality, which is right there on the Frosta Peninsula in central Norway. He comes from a town of 2,645 people, making it the 247th largest municipality in Norway out of 357. And of course, obviously, you're going to ask me then, how does that compare to Heine Bruseth's hometown of Yennes, which is a town and municipality of 2,700 people. So 55 people larger than Edvard Tagseth's, which is 244th in all of Norway. So I'm sure you were curious about that sort of stuff, just in case it comes up a little later. You get the advanced look into my preparation for this match tonight.
I appreciate that. And apologies to Heine Bruseth. I forgot he existed until you just mentioned
he's on
him.
loan playing for Sarpsborg, which I'm sure you're curious is a town of 59,000 people, John. That's good enough for 13th largest municipality in all of Norway.
You know what's funny? So last week, there's a brewery down the street from me, and once a week I meet up with a group and we play trivia at the brewery, and it's great. And this week we were all watching the Padre game while we were playing, but last week there was no Padre game going on, and there was a TV in the corner that someone had set to YouTube videos of Norway fjords. And I was watching these videos, and over the course of 2 hours, I just got more and more like, I need to go to Norway. I need to go to Norway. This looks like the prettiest place on earth. This looks like place like it would change my brain chemistry to be in that picture that I'm looking at. So I actually have been looking around at like Norway facts and how expensive it would be to travel there and what creative Airbnbs they have and stuff like that over the last week or so. So actually, I am kind of curious of all these Norway stats. Thank you.
Well, there you go. I mean, I told you previously, Heine Bruseth, the club that he played at before he came to the States, is located in a city on the northeast side of Norway. The hometown, as a matter of fact, of Babe Didrikson Zacharias' father. So, what are the odds? All right. Anyhow, that'll be tonight, 7:00. Yeah. And not only was it Babe Didrikson Zacharias' father's hometown, it's the hometown of former Manchester United legend and manager, more a legend for being the player than the manager, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So again,
a hotbed of football talent.
This hopping little town right there on the coast of Norway. Who even knew that such a thing was so popular, unbeknownst to us and our uneducated, ignorant American attitudes towards such things. So just trying to help you out here. Maybe if Heine Bruseth ever ends up back in the States with SDFC, you can have a conversation about where to go and visit there on the Scandinavian peninsula.
I'll ask. I won't understand any of the words that come out of his mouth, and I won't know how to spell any of them because they use letters and characters that I've never seen, but I will act as interested as I can.
Well, Heine's from a hometown. It's Gjemnes. And I did look this up. It's Hemnes.
Hemnes, but there's no
the G is silent, the J is a Y.
There's none of those like E's with a tail or like an O with a line through it or any of that.
Well, that's the official pronunciation, but
okay.
On Wikipedia they change it for us. All right. So yesterday was Hulk Hogan. Did you read what Brian Phillips wrote at The Ringer about South Park and the whole Paramount deal? Very good. I love Brian Phillips. Loved him when he was with ESPN. Now he's with The Ringer. He writes from time to time about things that are a little bit off the beaten path. But he did take the time to write about South Park and Paramount, and I thought it was very good. I thought it was very funny. And I'm glad that Brian Phillips wrote that story just about the absurdity of the South Park episode. Have you watched this episode, or have you just seen the clips on social media? Because I will confess to the latter. I haven't watched the episode yet.
I am in the latter category, although when I mentioned it to my wife, who surprisingly, my wife was like, I was a pretty big South Park fan. I was like, you?
Same.
She was. And she was like, we should watch it. She's like, let's watch the new season. It's probably going to be funny. It's probably going to be great, et cetera, et cetera. We haven't yet. We watched something else instead. I forget what, but we haven't yet, but I think we will. I've only seen the clips, one of which I can play for you if you want. I have it ready. But there was another one that I thought that was really funny that I only saw in one place and I haven't seen again. And that's Jesus Christ is talking to all these people, but like he's talking about Trump and he's talking about the Paramount thing, and he's doing it like through gritted teeth, almost like like he's trying to avoid the lip readers. And he's like, just do whatever he says. That's what the law is now. Have you seen what's going on? We want to stay out of trouble. And I was dying laughing. So I will get around to watching this episode sometime this weekend.
I will say there was a trilogy, a South Park trilogy, Imagination Land.
Yeah.
Which I would tell you is amongst the finest, not just for South Park, but for television.
Was that the one with the manatees that like came up with the Family Guy storylines, or was that a different one?
No, I think it was a different one. This was about, what was the moral of the story? It was just about all the characters that we grew up with. Strawberry Shortcake and Star Wars figures, and it just was an amazing trilogy. Absolutely incredible stuff about how we allow... Oh, I know what it was. I think it was right about the time. It was sometime after 9/11, and it was how if we allow our imagination to take control of our lives, we just end up doing really, really silly, overreactive things. I think maybe the point was about TSA or giving up rights after the attacks of 9/11, because our imagination of what's going to happen next, and terrorists are going to come, and this is going to be a steady stream of terrorist attacks and all that sort of stuff. I think it was rooted there, and of course the way that these guys do it is they just turned it into imagination for all of our childhood characters. So like Popeye was in it, and some of these characters were good, and some of the people should watch it. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant.
I'll go back and find it now that the entire South Park library is on Paramount Plus.
I might have it on DVD.
I wouldn't even know how to play a DVD,
player,
Darren. Actually, no, I have a PS5. I think that can play a DVD.
I think so.
But I would. I'll go back and watch it because I really love when they do those where it's like a 2-part, 3-part thing. Like I thought the ones they did on Scientology were fantastic. Yeah, when they stop just like making jokes and they're like, hey, let's tackle some like real world stuff. There's something very clarifying about it, and that's what I liked about the article in the Ringer from Brian. Is like he was like, look, like comedy is important in the face of like fascism. And he's like, don't just look at this and go, oh, they're making jokes. He's like, bless their heart for being brave enough to make these jokes, knowing that they were going to get blowback and all of that. So yeah, I want to reward them, and I want to watch it for my own entertainment sake.
So what's the clip that you have?
Oh, here, let's play it. This is the one that I saw all over Twitter and Blue Sky and everything. I think the night that it was happening.
Hey, what the f*** is this, better?
This is the painting you asked for, sir.
Why is my dick so small?
But that's the size it is in the photo.
Get this guy out of here! I'm gonna sue you! I'm gonna sue both of you! Nobody makes fun of me and gets away with it! Hey, Satan!
I don't want to right now.
What? Hey, relax! Come on, Satan, I've been working hard all day!
You haven't been working, you've been doing your stupid memes and just around.
Come here, girl. Come on, Satan. You know you can't resist this.
I can't even see anything, it's so small.
Hey, I'll f***ing sue you!
God, you!
Come on, Satan. Don't be like that.
So this is obviously the takeoff, right? Because Satan's character used to be with Saddam Hussein back in the day, I think.
Correct.
Right? So
I actually think at one point in another clip I saw, Satan says to Donald Trump, "You remind me of this other guy that I used to date," and it's the wink and nod of like he's exactly the same as the old Saddam Hussein character from the show.
Yeah, there's also the AI clip of Trump walking through the desert and taking his clothes off as he goes, and I said to John yesterday, I got really panicked in the middle of the afternoon because we used a clip on yesterday's podcast from Hulk Hogan when he was testifying against Gawker Media. And I just had this panic attack out of nowhere. I was like, was that AI? Because AI and these deepfakes have gotten so good now, it's really kind of hard to tell the difference. Yeah. I was like, wait a second. And John thankfully Googled it and looked it up that this was actual testimony. I just started thinking, oh man, at some point this is going to happen where one of us is going to step in it because we see something on social media and think it's going to be applicable for whatever it is that we're chatting about. But that AI image, I'm with you. It was a little much, but what you can do now with AI is I think bad. I don't think it's good. I think even if it made you laugh, it's bad. I don't know that was. I don't know that this is leading us into the right place if you're going to be using it again. But this is the president of AI, so I guess if you're going to campaign on the AI, you have to live with some of the results.
I honestly the only thing I found really funny about that, like the whole time I was like, did they get an actor and do makeup and not all that, or is it AI? And the more I watched, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is AI. But I did find it amusing that they used like almost the exact same words that are in some TV commercials about like Jesus Christ, where it's like, he'll sacrifice for you. He carried you through the desert, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, it did the he gets us. And that's like, there are so many commercials like that are, just people advocating for religion and specific types of religion. And like, Jesus, he walked through the desert. He gets us. And it's just it's very funny and it's very South Park to just take Donald Trump and be like, let's put him in the place of Jesus Christ so that everyone can see how funny that is as because they're just polar opposites.
Yeah. Although, That's not how he necessarily presents himself.
No,
or
he
his
probably-
followers.
Yeah,
right?
they some of them probably thought it was
when
great.
you're selling the Trump Bible, it sort of is a suggestion that you are one and the same, I suppose.
I saw a tweet yesterday. I think my wife showed it to me that someone posted like, "Hey, the libs out there, they have to get used to the fact that if the Epstein files come out, like Bill Clinton could be in there too. So you're taking down Donald Trump and Bill Clinton." And someone that my wife follows reposted that with, "Oh no, I'm going to have to take down my Bill Clinton flag and take off my Bill Clinton shirt. And what am I going to do with my Bill Clinton Bible?" And it's just one of those things where it's like you realize that it's complete. Donald Trump is completely ridiculous in that no other person has been worshipped like this as a politician ever before. But yeah, it's you do welcome some of this stuff by being that person.
Right. Yeah, it's not the own that people think it is.
Yeah.
Right? To say, well, what are you going to do if this politician who you're aligned with, like I've never heard anybody say, whoa, well, we can't have that getting out there.
Yeah. When Nancy Pelosi was like, "Hey, maybe we don't need to focus on the Epstein files. This is just a distraction," I saw a bunch of people going, "Yeah, Nancy knows Bill's in there. Nancy knows some of the Democratic people were in there. She's worried about the party." And it's like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, but haven't we known this all along? I mean, when you see these images, multiple images of these people together, whether it's the current president, former president, you sort of already in your mind draw the conclusion that there was probably more going on there than just, hey, do you have time for a selfie?
Yeah.
So
you probably
you can't get away with that forever.
Yeah, you didn't bump into Jeff Epstein at the tennis club. You were at the party at his house.
Right.
There's something that we can take away from that.
You're all in the same ecosystem here. So I think we understand that, which has always been one of the oddest things about the entire subject is how both sides sort of just kept going after one another. Like, I don't know that anybody here is going to be all that happy with whatever turns out publicly. What are you doing this weekend? My in-laws are coming to town, John.
Your in-laws are coming to town. That's why when I was installing your microphone, I'm like, well, you could do it this one way where you just drill it into the desk and I'll have my father-in-law do it, which it's a total John Gennaro move, by the way. Have the father-in-law do the handyman work around the house.
Like insists on a list of things.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. He wants things to do while he's here. He doesn't like just sitting around doing nothing.
Wants to stay busy.
He likes staying busy, so we have to come up with some projects for him.
There you go. Well, I'm glad I was able to contribute. This weekend, I'm loving these summertime weekends. I don't have a lot in the way of plans. I will say that last weekend, I used to I have a road bike, and I used to ride my bike a lot. And over the last 6 months, I've been riding my e-bike a lot, and my road bike has literally been collecting dust. I know that because I pulled it off the wall last weekend and it was covered in dust. But I took it for a ride with a buddy of mine. First thing I did, Darren, because I have those clip-in shoes, I clip into my pedals, which is a little dicey sometimes. I've fallen with those, and I got on, and I'm like, man, I hope I don't fall. First thing I did when I clip in, immediately fell. Like within half a second, I fell.
Just tipped over, just like Joe Biden.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what happened was I clipped in correctly, but I was turning while I was doing so, and so my shoe ended up basically working as a brake for my front tire. The tire couldn't move because the shoe was there, and it's not like I could move the shoe because it was locked into the pedal, and so I just tipped over, scraped my knee, totally fine. But then I went on a 30-mile bike ride, and I was like, man, I miss going for long bike rides. They're just a breath of fresh air for my brain, and they're just a very good form of exercise for me. So this weekend, my plan is to get out on the bike at least once, if not twice. There will undoubtedly be some swimming in the pool, some adventures around town with my wife and daughter, some errands that need to be run, but nothing really in the way of strict plans, which is good. That usually means I'll catch a fair amount of the sports that are on TV too.
All right. Well, tonight, little doubleheader there. Padres early, and then SDFC at night. And I think this weekend, the appointment viewing that I have is the Women's Euro final between England and Spain, a rematch of the Women's World Cup from a couple of summers back, won by Spain. So looking forward to that. I think that's Sunday at noon. Maybe that's noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, but check your local listings, as they say. Haven't seen if Messi's going to get suspended for this weekend.
Assuming it would have happened by now.
Probably. Again, doesn't affect me if he doesn't. I just want things to be fair.
Why wouldn't they just fine him? Are they worried
if one
he's
of
not
our
gonna play?
guys didn't play, I don't know that they would have been treated the same, even with the context of how many matches that he's played, but it's fine.
It would be very funny if they suspended Jordi Alba, but not Messi.
Yeah, we'll let him get away with it, but not you.
Yeah,
you're just as catty here. You can't get away with that. All right. Well, enjoy your weekend, everybody. Thank you for the support. As always, we appreciate it. Section1904.com. Thank you. We'll see you out there on the Discord channel over the weekend. Whatever it is that you're doing, if you're traveling, if you're drinking beer, if you're eating food, if you're watching Padres, if you're watching SDFC, if you're watching football, if you're watching NASCAR, if you're watching F1, if you're watching any of it, we appreciate all the commentary that we find there on the Discord channel.
Yeah.
It is really a lot of fun to just scroll through there from time to time and chime in from time to time. So seeing a lot of you interacting with one another and recommending other places and food stops along the way when you're traveling and all that. I love it. I love the community that we are building. It is growing and we appreciate it. And we wish you all a great weekend. And we'll, oh, by the way, I could contribute to it. Nah, forget it. I'll save it for next week. Went to a local restaurant here called Rapungi. You ever been to Rapungi? Very good.
No,
in
I like the
Imperial
name
Beach.
though.
Really, really good. So I'll review that next week. But it was
Okay.
really good if you're in Imperial Beach. My wife, kind of a tough critic. Great wine list. A little pricey on the beach, but still very, very good. Happy we went. Happy it's in the neighborhood. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you Monday.